something's going on. The culture's ready to have this conversation. I really think we're at an inflection point right now, and I didn't see it coming. This book was a pretty high risk venture for my publisher, and to some extent for me. I had a good reputation writing about food and stuff I wrote about. I didn't have to change. But we took a flyer, and lo and behold, it worked. I mean, in the United States, the reception's been remarkable. The mainstream media, that appearance actually was like the first on network television to talk about psychedelics. I don't know how long. And you're right, there was this incredible nervousness. This is really weird. We're going to put this on with disclaimers, but the evident fascination of the people. Gail King, Oprah's friend, she'd I met her in the green room, and she'd been through that book and underlined it and had Post-its everywhere. And so it was like, this is really weird, but hey, this is really interesting. Over the course of 3 minutes, I saw that evolve. I think what really opened up the American media to a conversation about this was the fact that the launch piece, the first thing I did, the kind of adaptation from the book, I did for the Wall Street Journal. And that increased the comfort level. That the Wall Street Journal was willing to give 2,500 words to talk about psychedelic therapy was a signal to the rest of the media that you could go into that water without, getting too cold.
And why were they, in your opinion, willing to do that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. They almost weren't. They kind of got cold feet about this article, and finally, made the right call as far as I was concerned. I wrote a very careful piece for them that wasn't so threatening, and it really, if you're talking about healing, the conversation changes. Yeah. If you're talking about just mind expansion, mind exploration, that's okay, but that's kind of this. There's no urgency to that, okay, for the culture at large. But the center of this book, and the work we should be talking about if we're hoping to normalize these medicines, is the fact that they heal people, and that we have a mental health crisis, and that there are 300 million people with depression around the world. 100 million are treatment resistant. They're not getting relief, or they're not getting any treatment. You have a suicide rate is climbing rapidly. You have addiction rampant. And mental health care has very few tools to address this. The last serious innovation was in the early 90s with SSRI antidepressants. Mental health care only reaches about half the people who need it. If you compare mental health care to any other branch of medicine, whether you're talking about oncology, cancer treatment, cardiology, infectious disease, they've all extended lifespan. They've all come up with major innovations that's changed our lives and helped people dramatically with these conditions. Many more people survive with cancer now than they did just 10 years ago. There's nothing like that in mental health care. We are not extending lives with our mental health treatments. We're giving people psychiatric drugs that are incredibly toxic, much more toxic than LSD or psilocybin. So if you talk about that, people will listen. And they'll get over their 60s stereotypes of these drugs and realize that, okay, there are risks, but look at the benefits. And that's what we do with other drugs. Oncology drugs are incredibly toxic, but we put up with that. They kill a lot of people, by the way, but we put up with that because they heal people too. Here are drugs that are remarkably non-toxic. There's no lethal dose of LSD or psilocybin. There's a lethal dose of many drugs in your medicine cabinet that you bought without a prescription. So I think that's how you engage the mainstream. And lead with the science and lead with the people that are being helped.